Hello, it's Greg Grizzly Guide. You're back. We hope you're having a happy day wherever you listen to this audio content from. As always, I'd like to thank you for your continued support of Greg Grizzly Guide on social media and writing efforts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is episode 063 of the Greg Grizzly Guide, definitely not a podcast show. A light and fluffy look at social media, Japan, Japanese food, expat life, and life in general. As always, your retweets of this and all the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful content that we actively tweet and retweet out on Craig Hoffman11 on Twitter is appreciated. Thank you in advance for helping us get the good word out about Greg Grizzly and Guide. Welcome back. Another good show today, I hope. It's been a bit oddly with the coronavirus junk that's going around and has brought life in Japan to a halt. Everybody's home all the time, so it's really hard to do these shows. And of course, my wife and those I care about are always number one on my list, and so I make time for them, and I make no apologies for that. But they're out. Almost life is getting back to some semblance of normalcy, or normal, as it were, and they're out enjoying life a little, which I'm really happy about. And now I can pursue a little passion, which is my social media, writing, and this show. And my great friend Braden has been chomping at the bit for new content. And so, at his request, I'm doing today's show, and I always appreciate his support. The Closet Clowns is out. That's my first play. It went number one on Amazon Japan in the free stuff and got high, actually even paid. As well, in America, got up to as high as number 3 at one point in plays and playwriting and some other categories as well. And again, quite high in paid services for Amazon, so I was happy about that. A lot of people read it. A lot of people have commented they enjoyed it and liked it. It's not for everybody. There's an adult tint to it. It's themed a bit leaning towards mature, but not in an overt way. I was very cognizant that, when you're trying to bring people to a theater, you can't turn everyone off with blunt force humor and blunt force content. There's got to be some back and forth to be able to, again, make it palatable for those who perhaps don't enjoy solely mature-themed content. I don't write Care Bear kid-themed stuff. I should. I'm pretty good at it. But I like pushing the envelope. I think it's great to write books and plays and short stories, and I've written a good blog. I think that people enjoy, and people certainly engage me. I mean, I'm a nobody, unemployed foreigner in Japan, followed by more than 14,000 people on Twitter. Call me crazy, that's something. And so I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of what I write. But, if somebody sits around someday and says, oh, that's nice, I'm a little disappointed. If somebody in the far future, whether I'm alive, dead, or long since forgotten, somebody says, wow, that guy was on to something, to me that would mean more than selling 1 million copies of a cookie cutter novel, short story, or play. I'm looking to step out of the box and be something at least on some level original. And that's really hard to do. I read a lot of books. I was talking about how I read a book almost every day. That's really true. I'm in a beta reading club, a number of Facebook groups, and I don't trade people like that. I have good people, so I don't. But I know people struggle to find people who are qualified and willing to give a real honest opinion and assessment of writing. And so I do read several books a week. And I read a lot of classic literature, and I read a lot of chapters and excerpts, and I'm a big news reader. I have been since I was a kid. And so I read a lot, and I was no joke to somebody who commented, I read thousands of words every day, thousands of words a week. I write thousands of words every week without fail. I write every single day, and I've written something every day for nearly the last 15 years here in Japan. Again, that doesn't mean that's all novels and stuff that got published, but I make it a point to move my fingers as an exercise in thought, in an exercise of creativity, and in, of course, the faint hope that I write something that catches people's attention and audience attention again, I don't write for fame and fortune, and I think writers and content creators who write and create solely for fame and fortune are generally doomed to fail. 99.99999% of people are not going to be rich and famous from their fingers, their mouth, or even their face, no matter how good looking and or talented they are or think they might be or even really, really are. That's just the way it works. There's a lot of people out there writing and creating things, even in the Japan market. I know everybody. Some of them have met with a fair amount of success, but most people are just really passionate about whatever they're writing and creating. I know a guy, Bill Adler, who helps me with a lot of my stuff. He's the best-selling author. He writes a lot on a blog about watches, and it's a great thing, but I'm sure he's not making big money writing about watches, but he's passionate about it. I know other people like the Just Japan podcast who talks a lot about nature and culture. You're not making big money talking about bugs in Japan in 2020, but he's passionate about it. And I know other people who do food and photography. Again, I'm certain that they're not making big money, but they're passionate about it. And I can tell you that Grey, Grizzled, and Gaijin, despite being lofty and high up in a variety of rankings now with the second book in a row, or play rather, I'm not making big money. I'm an unemployed foreigner living in Japan. So I know of what I speak, and I'm not devoid of talent. I'm certainly not devoid of drive and passion. That's just the way it goes. So, again, I don't mean to pour cold water on anybody's dreams, but I write and create because a few people really enjoy it. And at the end of the day, when my fingers touch this keyboard, rubbing the ink right off the letters, I'm happy. And it's my moment of, not to be cliche, but Zen and personal solace, especially in 2020, as the wheels have just come off my existence and the world around me, and there's nothing I can do about it. And I talked to some American friends that never in 44 years plus of living had I thrown my hands up and said, whatever in life. And that's kind of happened in 2020. I'm not going to lie. I had a little health scare in January, bounced back and didn't die. That was cool. And I said, well, that's the way life goes. 2 days later, I'm out of a job. My company doesn't want me. And I say, well, that's just the way it is. And I go full force into finding another job, and I get an interview and never heard back, and that's the way it goes. Still a good night of drinking. And I think, well, something will come along. I just have to keep going, keep applying, keep looking, keep on the websites, get in the Facebook groups, connect. And I got some work, and I was feeling like, well, I can scuff along and be okay. And I even did some work and made a few bucks. And I'm kind of feeling good. And the coronavirus, it's around, and people are getting it, and the cruise ship, the Princess cruise ship happened, and people are worried, and well, I don't know what we're going to do. And it was like overnight, literally, Japanese schools closed and the world came to a halt, and now you go to the grocery store and there's no toilet paper and masks are out, and it's a mess. And of course, now all of my work that I had, poof, gone. Any hope of really replacing any kind of income, poof, gone. And tomorrow came, and I got up, and I had to push forward. And it was hard, right? I didn't shave for like a week. I was angry at the universe. And I'm generally a really positive person. I'm not probably as positive as Grey, Grizzled, and Gaijin, the persona, but I'm pretty close. And friends and family who know me well will tell you that I do try to be a pragmatic yet positive person in the world. I'm pretty conservative. I work hard. I think people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and make the most out of the life that they have been given. But a couple weeks ago, especially as March started, and I left my company on March 2nd as the last day, I cleaned everything, put everything on the desk with my notes for the next person that was coming in the next morning. I walked out dancing, and I woke up March 3rd with no job, and I took it hard, right? I'm not going to lie. I could tell you that I didn't, but I did. I was positive on social media, was positive on Facebook, and I was positive with my wife and those that I care about. But deep inside, I was cheesed. And I didn't shave the first day for the first week or so. My wife hated that. I didn't really care. And I was angry. I was angry. All my hard work, all that stuff I had preached about, get out of bed, go to work, give a full effort, be positive, be happy, be kind. For all of that, life just kicked me in the junk. And I dusted myself off and I shaved. And I said about the work of trying to get my life back on track. And then the coronavirus stuff comes and I'm screwed. Right? Not only me, but other people, right? And I don't mean to paint that as a woe is Craig, a woe is Gray, Grizzled, and Gaijin. People are really struggling, right? And we're talking about Japanese people who are on day contracts, limited temporary contracts. The work is gone. You know, there's some mother, no doubt, in Japan who was scraping by with her kid with no support from some deadbeat ex-husband or soon-to-be ex-husband. And she was just starting to squeak out a living, no doubt. And the rug got pulled out from underneath her. So I don't mean to ever equate that when I say I'm screwed. I'm talking relative to what my life was last year and even early in January to where I stand now. And I think that's important. You have to have some perspective of what real problems are. And I say that to people all the time. My worst day in Japan is still better than 99% of the world on their best day. And that's a sobering reality. And now, as the coronavirus has sadly moved into America, but not unexpectedly, many friends I know who were just scraping by month to month are going to struggle. And they're not going to struggle for a day, a week, or a month. This virus has put the brakes on my life in Japan, and I'm fortunate that I'm in a position to weather that storm, hopefully for not too long, but I'm okay if it extends a fair bit. And that's not true of a lot of foreigners who live in Japan. It's not true of a lot of friends and family and strangers in America. And that's a tough, tough thing. But people have to come together. I see a lot of people. At first, I saw people complaining about the lines in America and things being out, understandably so, and things being canceled and school being suspended and sports. I love American sports. It's one of the first things I read every morning. And now my sports page is empty. All the American sports have stopped, basically. And I feel a little empty. I found great joy in keeping up with American basketball, especially, and football, and baseball to some degree. And I follow the local sports scene, even as far down as my high school and old junior high school. I love keeping up on local community events. And now all of those pages just talk about cancellations and suspensions of activities and how to be careful from the coronavirus. There's just no escape. And I was talking to my wife about how for the first time in my time in Japan, life had stunk here and for most of my friends and family back in America. That had never happened. At least on one side, when my life wasn't good here, something was positive back home. And when people back home struggled with health or job or life or family drama or friend drama or something was going on, I had something positive to say. Well, hey, I'm going to Singapore. Hey, I'm taking this trip. Hey, my job is going well. Hey, my life is happy. They won this award. But all the way around, for the first time in almost 15 years, life stinks for everybody. And that's tough. And people are taking it hard. I have friends that are pretty down and depressed. And I've tried to serve as a leader, as I had written in my Facebook, and setting the tone and example for my friends and family. And I hope that Gray, Grizzled, and Gaijin is and continues to do that on Twitter. And that doesn't make me some special person or some saint. I just think when life comes and it comes hard, you can fold and crumble, or you can stand and fight back. And I am, for better or worse, a fighter and a person that really seeks to stand up and help other people stand up with me. And I don't know that I'm wholly successful in that, but I try. And so I look at my life and I've had time to think. When you're unemployed and there's nothing going on and you're not going out, the mind has time to go around and around and around and around. And my mind has focused on the positives of my life, and my mind has gone into dark, dark, dark places. And I don't think that I should hide that from you or friends or family. The difference is, I'll tell you that my highest of highs and my lowest of lows in my mind, what I put out into the world, especially on social media, is positive. And I think inside, that's what people have to control in this time. I don't control the outside. I can't control the coronavirus, the government's response. Some of it's been really, really good. Some of it has fallen short. I'm sure that's also true wherever you live. If you're facing this battle too, your communities and states and country as a whole, and how people are dealing or have dealt with this pandemic has fallen short. But I don't know that there was any perfect answer. I see a lot of news recently talking about whether the Olympics are going to happen. And I go back and forth. A couple of weeks ago, I thought, well, I think maybe there's a good chance. And then this weekend, the news I read doesn't look very, very positive. And some people think, well, you're going to have the Olympics. It's got to be that gambare, gambaro, fight, fight, fight. Show America, show the world, show Japan that we will persevere. And then, as I think about it, I don't really want the 2020 Tokyo Games to be remembered as the coronavirus games. And I don't know that there's any way to extricate this year's Olympics from this year's pandemic. And maybe it should be together as a moment to show the world came together despite, really in my lifetime, the first worldwide problem. And please message me if you can think of a bigger one or a better one. Even some of the terrible acts that have happened in the world were kind of isolated to that country. Some of the wars that have gone on really didn't involve most of the world. But as I had said slightly earlier in this, not a podcast, there's really no running from this. I have to tell you, for the first time in 15 years, almost 15 years here, I considered going home, but I can't. It doesn't look like I'd be able to go back without a fair amount of quarantine, and I wouldn't have health insurance, and I wouldn't have a job. And I don't think in this particular climate that finding a job would be very easy. I can't really run to other parts of Japan because it's basically Japan-wide. So even if I could take my wife and family and go somewhere in Japan, I'd still have the same problem. That doesn't work. Other countries don't work. And I have a good online social media friend who has escaped his country, came here to escape coronavirus and got hit with coronavirus here. And now he and his family face big trouble trying to get back where they're from and moving their life forward. And we've talked about it. There's no easy answer. There's no right answer. Should he have stayed? Should he have left? I don't know. You are where you are. And you do what you do. And for the first time in my life, I regretted coming to Japan a little. I thought, well, maybe it must be easier in America. But then this week, I see my friends and family and old community members struggling. And I know that it would be no easier in America for me. In fact, quite a bit more responsibility and a lot more going on. And if I had left when I wanted to get work in America, I would be away from my beloved wife and family here. And there would be no way to protect them and come back here. And there's no way for me to protect and help my American family. And I see people praying that God helps them. And I'm not super big on that these days. And I thought about it. And I realized that there's a moment where deep down I thought about praying for the first time in several years. And I didn't, because I thought, certainly if God is out there, he's a little busy. Certainly a little too busy for an unemployed foreigner's long distance, long time no see call. And I realized that relationships trump everything. And I've reevaluated my priorities in my life. And I realized that my job had taken away my joy. Not particularly in the daily work. I understood that work is work. But the time that it had taken from my life, the hours that it had taken from my life, only to be in the end taken away, didn't mean much. The money, sure. And I would go back 5 seconds from now if the company said, Craig, please come back. And I have no shame in telling you that publicly. I have people who count on me to make money and support them. And if that took me going back, that's exactly what I would do. But that's not reality, and that's not where I'm at. But on a personal level, in these couple of weeks of not going into work every day and not working the long hours, I've found more joy in the simple things. I found a lot of joy in watching people study, in watching people I care about practice. I found a lot of joy in walking around supermarkets and watching how people react in this time of trouble. I found joy in waking up in the morning. And I found joy in writing and creating. And I found joy in doing nothing, which seems really simple, but for most of my, especially adult life, had been rather impossible. I woke up this morning, I had breakfast, I enjoyed writing and my life, and I went shopping, and I came home and had a great ramen lunch. And this afternoon, I enjoyed more writing, and I watched some cooking shows with people I care about. And I'm sitting here at 44 years old, completely unemployed, on a Saturday early evening, and I'm not really worried about anything. I probably should be, and perhaps tomorrow I will be. But I've learned in this past couple of weeks that there is only so much one can carry. And I did a blog post a couple of years ago, talking about the boxes that we carry, the stuff and the drama and the stress that one carries in daily life. And I think it really happens to a lot of people here in Japan, especially long-term foreigners, when there is job stress, money stress, family stress, future stress. And I realized that it was important to put everything down at some point during my day. I'm unemployed. Oh, okay. And life isn't going so great. Okay. And it looks like it's going to be a struggle for at least the short-term future into a significant amount of time. Okay. And family and friends are struggling in America. Okay. And I'm still here. And that's good, because somebody today didn't get today. And there's somebody here today that's not going to get tomorrow. And there's somebody who didn't get today or tomorrow who left yesterday in life. And that's not to gloss over the finite nature of the human existence, but that's reality. I'm here. I'm fighting for today, and I'm doing all I can to make the most of this moment in my life. And there just aren't guarantees for tomorrow. And so I hope that as you've listened to this, and I appreciate that you've hung with me this long, and if you have, Braden and 2 or 3 other people who listen till the end, I appreciate that. If life is kicking you, and it probably is, stop, put everything down, take a moment of your day to just be okay. And I think when you put one moment of being okay, it's easier to put a second and a third. And when you put moments together, you get blocks of being okay. And when you have those blocks of being okay, I think it's a good start to putting one's life in proper perspective and I'll speak for myself, hopefully back on track. Stay hopeful, stay positive, and certainly in the early part of 2020, stay vigilant and healthy in your life. That's it, and have a great, great day.